Well, next on TVC News at 7 is business news, and Tolulokpe Ogunjobi is standing by. Tolulokpe, there are still so many reactions regarding the tax reform bills.
Of course, it's very important. Government needs to generate revenue. I think a lot of understanding. Nigerian needs to just understand that document and know where government is headed. I think they'll get a headway very shortly, the way I see it. Well, let's talk more in business. The federal government has commenced the payment of 20% pension increase for retirees under the Defined Benefit Scheme, DBS. The 20% increase, backdated to January 2024, has been paid to many DBS pensioners, while the minimum pension of 32,000 naira, approved in July 2024, has also reached several beneficiaries. National President of the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, Mr. Godwin Abumisi, praised the President for implementing significant measures to alleviate the economic challenges faced by retirees under the DBS scheme. He added that these initiatives will reflect the President's love and commitment to ensuring pensioners in the country are supported and their rights protected and promoted. Well, scholars at the 55th Convocation Lecture of the University of Lagos have stressed the need for successful economic transformation in Nigeria through sustainable institutions. The lecture, which serves as a summon of scholars and witness in-depth discussions on ways in which universities can serve as hubs for development and wealth creation. Senior correspondent Sharon Ijasan has details in this report.
The 55th Convocation Lecture of the University of Lagos UNILAG started with an academic procession. Then, the host of the event and the Vice-Chancellor of the university, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, addressed the university community on the theme for the discussion.
Higher education has long been a pathway out of poverty, enabling individuals to break the cycles of inequality. But the traditional view of a university as an ivory tower of intellectual pursuit is increasingly outdated. Universities can no longer be mere repositories of knowledge. They must be dynamic players in the creation of wealth and the advancement of societies.
Development hub for wealth creation.
The 55th Convocation Lecturer Tayo Aduluju of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group stressed that successful economic transformation requires a national consensus on education.
So that's something that we need to solve for. Alignment involves collaboration between industry and government to establish clear vision for the future, and then the integrating of educational agendas in university to align. The second is proposals that establish collaborative frameworks between academic centers of excellence. So in the case of the Apollo project, the universities were not assembled by region. They were assembled by what are the centers of excellence needed to drive this frontier target of the country, and that's how they were pulled together.
The convocation lecturer analyzed the development definition and its scope of application.
If you are industrializing and you don't have the capacity and you need to borrow the capacity today, education answers the question where you will house the know-how to build the capacity tomorrow. But if you build your industrial policy based on just bringing people to exploit your resources with no capacity to build your own, then you end up where we are.
A former governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, who served as the 55th UNILAG Convocation Lecture chairman, appraised the lecture delivered. He also spoke about the need for sustainable institutions in Nigeria.
Example of putting capacities of individuals into an institution. And of course, there's a debate. That's why I asked whether it is still existing. People talk about institutions without necessarily focusing enough on the individuals. But the truth is that institutions are developed and destroyed by individuals. When institutions do well, it is good men and women who have done well. And when institutions do otherwise, it is men and women who drop the ball.
The university community across the country have been challenged towards ensuring that they optimize their potential, towards ensuring national development and wealth creation. Sharon Ijasan, TVC News.
And as the ongoing debate around federal government's tax reform continues, the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria is calling for more dialogue from all parties to achieve the aims and objective of the bill. President of the CITN, Mr. Samuel Agbeluyi, said this when he featured on our Business Nigeria program earlier today.
This is the first time we are having an amendment or a total overhaul of the tax laws in the country. And once we get it right this time around, then of course, the next or the natural consequence is that Nigeria will move upward in terms of tax revenue. So once all the deliberations are concluded and we step out to implement this, it will be a major shift, positive one for that matter, in getting domestic revenue mobilization for public expenditure. We will say that is not going to be sufficient in order to move Nigeria forward. So we also recommend that the government will need to do a lot and to get the great benefit of this bill that is coming. The federal government and the state government, even the local government, must also be transparent and accountable. We won't be tired of saying this. If you collect money from me, kindly let me see you spending that money for me. And once that is done, we are too sure that Nigeria is great, and it will be greater than even what we have now.
Well, the big rush by many market investors to harvest profits from their holdings crashed prices and weakened indices. The all-share index, which shows daily movements of price, dipped by a large margin of 1.66%. To underscore losses to companies and investors, the stock of Dangote Cement took the biggest price fall. That was close to 10% in calculation. Other heavy losers in the market were NGX Exchange Group, MTN Nigeria, Zenith and GT Holdings. NASCON and highest price takers are in the region of 6%, followed by Access Holdings, Oando, First Bank Holdings, and UBA. Business volume of 588 million shares was recorded at the closing hour of trade today. Well, outside our shores, rising bond yields and a strong dollar are making investors cautious ahead of U.S. inflation statistics and the start of Donald Trump's second term as U.S. president. European and U.S. futures indicated a minor rise today as Nasdaq 100 futures rose 0.5% in Asia's session after the index dropped in New York on Monday. S&P 500 futures were 0.3% firmer. European futures were up 0.8%. FTSE futures steadied. In Asia, Japan's Nikkei slumped 1.8%, touched a 6-week low as investors shed cheap stocks. Now, the Shanghai Composite was up 2.5%, being its best day since November 7th, while Hong Kong techs rose more than 3%. China's social media platform TikTok has described reports of allowing sales of the company's U.S. operations to businessman Elon Musk as a pure fiction. The firm's comment comes in response to a Bloomberg report that Chinese officials are weighing on options that could see its business in America being sold to the world's richest person if the U.S. Supreme Court upholds a ban on the app. The U.S. Supreme Court's justices are due to rule on a law that set a January 19 deadline for TikTok to either sell its U.S. operations or face a ban in the country. TikTok has repeatedly said it will not sell its U.S. operations, irrespective of the outcome of the Supreme Court ruling. Meanwhile, TikTok users in the U.S. are migrating to a Chinese app called Red Note, with the threat of ban just days away. And crude oil market is today, but remain near 4 months high as the impact of the U.S. sanction on Russian oil spins market focus ahead of U.S. inflation data this week. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude sells for $78.70 with a decline of 0.15%. Brent also experienced a decline of 0.30% to sell at $80.77 per barrel. Bonnie Light sells for $78.62 with a downward margin of 2.84%. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers offer $77.94 per barrel with an uptick of 1.31%. Well, that's business news. We'll take a break, and next will be sports news. Stay with us.